Well, good evening. Welcome, everyone, especially you who may not be able to sleep just like me. I'm having a lovely round of insomnia, and rather than scrolling through YouTube or looking at Instagram reels, I decided to be productive and read. I think that's a good idea. So, thank you for joining the Dictionary Diva as I read a little bit from some of the classics. This is actually a book I've never read. I've had it for a long time. It's Irish Fairy Folk Tales by W.B. Yeats. I've actually tried to do this stream twice now, and I've buggered it up twice. It's been a lot of fun. Not really. So, in truth, I've never really had insomnia before. It's never been something that's plagued me. But lately I have, and it's not a joy. I'm not enjoying it at all. So, let's get to reading. Maybe this will make me sleepy. Maybe it'll make you sleepy. I'll read the cover. W.B. Yeats included almost every sort of Irish folk tale in this marvelous compendium of fairy tales and song, which he collected and edited for publication in 1892. Yeats was fascinated by Irish myths and folklore and joined forces with the writers of the Irish Literary Revival. He studied Irish folk tales at the British Museum and chose to reintroduce the story and significance of Ireland's past through this unique literature. I've been to Ireland, and it was really fun, but I was also 5 months pregnant when I went to Ireland, and that's something I do not recommend doing. In America, it's very common to have convenience stores pretty much on the corner of every major intersection. In Ireland, that is not the case. So if you didn't plan your trip well, because I went from one end of the country to the other, started in Dublin, went north to Trim, crossed the country to Tralee, up north to Galway, and then back to Dublin. Not fun to do if you're starving with a wee bairn in your belly. All right, the first story we'll read is The Fate of the Children of Lear. It happened that the 5 kings of Ireland met to determine who should have the head kingship over them, and King Lear of the Hill of the White Field expected surely he would be elected. When the nobles went into council together, they chose for their head King Dearg, son of Dogda, because his father had been so great a druid, and he was the eldest of the father's sons. But Lear left the assembly of the kings and went home to the hill of the White Field. The other kings would have followed after Lear to give him wounds of spear and wounds of sword for not yielding obedience to the men who they had chosen to give lordship. But Dearg the king would not hear of it and said, "Rather let us bind him to us by the bonds of kinship, so that peace may dwell in the land. Send over to him for wife the choice of the 3 maidens of the fairest form and best repute of Erin, the 3 daughters of O'Leil and Arran, my own 3 bosom nurslings." So the messengers brought word to Lear that Dearg the king would give him a foster child of his foster children. Lear thought well of it and set out next day with 50 chariots from the hill of the White Field, and he came to the lake of the Red Eye near Kildale. And when Lear saw the 3 daughters of O'Leil, Dearg the king said to him, "Take thy choice of maidens, Lear." "I know not," said Lear, "which is the choicest of them all, but the eldest of them is the noblest. It is she I had best take. If so, said Dearg the king, Ove is the eldest, and she shall be given to thee, if thou willest. So Lear and Ove were married and went back to the hill of the white field. And after this came to them twins, a son and a daughter, and they gave to them names Fingula and Od. And 2 more sons came to them, Vichara and Con. And when they came, Ove died, and Lear mourned bitterly for her. But for his great love for his children, he would have died of his grief. And Dearg the king grieved for Lear, and sent to him and said, We grieve for Ove, for thy sake, but that our friendship may not rent asunder, I will give unto thee her sister, Oifa, for a wife. So Lear agreed, and they were united, and he took her with him to his own house. And at first Oifa felt affection and honor for the children of Lear and her sister, and indeed every one who saw the 4 children could not help giving them the love of his soul. Lear doted upon the children, and they always slept in beds in front of the father, who used to rise at early dawn every morning and lie down amongst his children. But thereupon the dart of jealousy passed on Oifa on account of this, and she came to regard the children with hatred and enmity. One day her chariot was yoked for her, and she took with her the 4 children of Lear in it. Fingula was not willing to go with her on the journey, for she had dreamt a dream in the night warning her against Oifa. But she was not to avoid her fate. And when the chariot came to the lake of the oaks, Oifa said to the people, Kill the 4 children of Lear, and I will give you your own reward of every kind in the world. But they refused, and told her it was an evil thought she had. Then she would have raised a sword to herself to kill and destroy the children, but her own womanhood and her weakness prevented her. So she drove the children of Lear into the lake to bathe, and they did as Oifa told them. As soon as they were upon the lake, she struck them with the druid's wand of spells and wizardry, and put them in the forms of 4 beautiful, perfectly white swans, and she sang over them. Out with you upon the wild waves, children of the king. Henceforth your cries will be with the flocks of birds. And Fingula answered, Thou witch, we know thee thy right name. Thou mayest dive us from wave to wave, but sometimes we shall rest upon the headlands. We shall receive relief, but thou punishment. Though our bodies may be upon the lake, our minds at least shall be flying homewards. And again she spoke, Assign an end for the ruin and woe which thou hast brought upon us. Oifa laughed and said, Never shall ye be free, until the woman from the south be united to the man from the north, until Legnan and Connaught wed Dutch of Munster. Nor shall any have power to bring you out of these forms. 900 years shall you wander over the lakes and streams of Erin. This only I will grant unto you, that you retain your own speech, and there shall be no music in the world equal to yours. The plaintive music you shall sing. This she said because repentance had seized her from the evil she had done. And then she spake this lay. Away from me, ye children of Lear, henceforth the sport of the wild winds, until Lurgan and Dush come together, until ye are on the northwest of Red Erin. Forgive me. First time I've done this. And I can't quite catch the vibe here. Oh well, okay. They all stayed, all solitary, all alone, filled with cold and grief and regret, until a thick tempest came upon them, and Fingula said, "Brothers, let us appoint a place to meet again, if the power of the wind separate us." And they said, "Let us appoint to meet, O sister, at the rock of the seals." Then the waves rose up, at the thunder roared, the lightnings flashed, the sweeping tempest passed over the seas, so that the children of Lear were scattered from each other over the great sea. There came, however, a placid calm after the great tempest, and Fingula found herself alone, and she said this lay: "Woe upon me that I am alive, my wings are frozen to my sides. O beloved three, who hid under the shelter of my feathers, until the dead comes back to the living, I and the three shall never meet again." And she flew to the lake of the seals, and soon saw Conn coming towards her with heavy step and drenched feathers, and Fiatra so also, cold and wet and faint. No word could they tell, so cold and faint they were. But she nestled them under her wings and said, "If Aud could come to us now, our happiness would be complete." But soon they saw Aud coming towards them with dry head and preened feathers. Fingulis put him under the feathers of her breast, and Fichara under her right wing, and Conn under her left, and they made this simple lay: "Bad was our stepmother with us. She played her magic upon us, sending us north upon the sea in the shapes of magical swans. Our bath upon the shore's ridge is the foam of the brine-crested tide. Our share of the ale feast is the brine of this blue-crested sea." One day they saw a splendid cavalcade of pure white steeds coming towards them. And when they came near, they were two of the sons of Derg the king, who had been seeking for them to give them news of Derg the king and Lear their father. "They are well," they said, "and live together happy in all, except that ye are not with them, and for not knowing where ye have gone since the day ye left the lake of the red eye." "Happy are not we," said Fingula, and she sang a sad song. "Happy this night, this household of Lear, abundant their meat and their wine. But of the children of Lear, what is their lot? For bedclothes we have our feathers, and as for our food and our wine, the white sand and the bitter brine. Fichara's bed in Conn's place, under the cover of my wings of the moil. Old has a shelter in my breast, and so side by side we rest." So the sons of Derg the king came to the hall of Lear and told the king the condition of his children. Then the time came for the children of Lear to fulfill their lot, and they flew in the current of the Moyle to the bay of the Innis, and remained there until the time of their fate. And then they flew up to the hill of the white field, and found all desolate and empty, with nothing but unroofed green wraiths and forests of nettles. No house, no fire, no dwelling place. The four came close together, and they raised three shouts of lamentation aloud, and Fingula sang this lay: "Uchon, it is bitterness to my heart to see my father's place forlorn. No hounds, no packs of dogs, no women, no valiant kings, no drinking horns, no cups of wood, no drinking in its light stone halls. Uchon, I see the state of this house, that its Lord our Father lives no more. Much have we suffered in our wandering years, by winds buffeted, by cold frozen. Now has come the greatest of our pain. There lives no man who knoweth us in the house where we were born." So the children of Lear flew away to the glory isle of Brandon the saint, and they settled upon the lake of the birds, until the holy Patrick came to Erin, and the holy Macog came to Glory Isle. And the first night he came to the island, the children of Lear heard the voice of his bell ringing for ringing for matins. So they started and leaped about in terror at hearing it, and her brothers left Fingala alone. "What is it, beloved brothers?" said she. "We know not what faint, fearful voice it is we've heard." Then Fingala recited this lay. "Listen to the cleric's bell, poise your wings and raise. Thanks to God for his coming, be grateful that you hear him. He shall free you from pain, and bring you from rocks and stones. Ye comely children of Lear, listen to the bell of the cleric." And Mackhog came down to the brink of the shore and said to them, "Are ye the children of Lear?" "We are indeed," they said. "Thanks be to God," said the saint. "It is for your sakes that I have come to this isle beyond every other island in Erin. Come ye to land now, and put your trust in me." So they came to land, and he made for them chains of bright white silver, and put chain between Odd and Fingala, and a chain between Con and Fichara. It happened at this time that Langnan was prince of Connaught, and he was to wed Dutch, the daughter of King Munster. She had heard the account of the birds, and she became filled with love and affection for them. And she said she would not wed till she had the wondrous birds of Glory Island. Langnan sent for them to the saint Maghog, but the saint would not give them to them. Both Langnan and Dutch went to Glory Isle, and Langnan went to seize the birds from the altar. But as soon as he laid hands on them, their feathery coats fell off, and the 3 sons of Lear became 3 withered, bony old men, and Fingula a lean, withered old woman, without blood or flesh. Langnan started at this and left the place hastily, but Fingula chanted this lay. "Come and baptize us, O cleric, clear away our stains. This day I see our grave, Fintra, Con on each side, and in my lap between my 2 arms place Ode, my beauteous brother." After this lay, the children of Lear were baptized, and then they died, and were buried as Fingala had said, Fichara and Con on either side, and Aud before her face. A cairn was raised for them, and on that their names were written in runes. And that is the fate of the children of Lear. Man, that was a hard story to read. I apologize. It's kind of like when you have to read Beowulf. That was that old English kind of, that was tough. So, thanks for bearing with it with me. I'm still not sleepy, but I also don't feel like reading anymore. So, I'll say goodnight, and maybe this will be a thing, but I hope not, because I really like my sleep. Thanks, guys.